Darkness held him like a coffin. Captain Lee Tam Man floated somewhere between existence and oblivion, trapped in a cold suspension where even time refused to move. His final memories shattered to the void in jagged pieces. Fire, a tearing scream of metal, the UEF horizon ripped apart by an explosion he never saw coming. The alarms were shrill, the ship buckled, and someone shoved him into an emergency cryopod just before everything went silent. Then nothing. Until now. A faint hum crept into the stillness, like machinery struggling awake after centuries of sleep. Pressure hissed. Warmth spread through Tamman's frozen veins, painfully slow, as his body remembered the meaning of life. His eyelids twitched, too heavy to lift, but consciousness seeped back like sunrise through fog. How long have I been in here? The emergency pod was programmed for 72 hours of stasis, only enough time for a rescue team to arrive. So someone must have found him. He clung to that thought as the pod seal clicked open with a sharp crack. Cold air rushed out. Something warmer rushed in. His chest burned as he sucked his first real breath in, he didn't know how long. His fingers twitched, stiff as stone, and his heartbeat slammed against his ribs like an engine restarting. Careful, his vitals are unstable. The voice was unfamiliar, the tone fluid and musical, yet somehow he understood every word. Give him room. Let him stabilize. Another voice said, softer but firm. Tam Man forced his eyes open. Light stabbed into them, blinding at first. Blurred shapes hovered above him, moving nervously. He tried to speak. Only a rasp escaped his dry throat. Water, the gentle voice commanded. Quickly. A cool cup touched his lips. Liquid trickled in, and his body reacted with a violent cough as it relearned the motion. His vision sharpened and froze. The face staring down at him was not human. Its eyes were impossibly large, shimmering like polished obsidian. Tiny translucent feathers covered its skin, almost glowing under the lights. A delicate beak-like mouth opened slightly as it breathed. The creature wore something like a medical uniform, though stretched and shaped for a form no human body could match. Tam Man jerked back, panic spiking through him. His limbs refused to obey, weak from centuries. No, he didn't know that yet, from however long he'd been asleep. Please, the creature said, raising 3 slender fingers calmly. Do not fear. You're safe. We rescued you. Tam Man swallowed, his voice a cracked whisper. What are you? Sadness flickered across the alien's huge eyes. I am Fra of the Valen people. And you are human. The first we've seen in 8 centuries. Tamman's heart froze. 8? No, that's impossible. My pod was only meant for 3 days. Another Valen entered view, taller, wearing a uniform that suggested science or command. Your pod was damaged, she explained gently. The timer malfunctioned. So did the distress beacon. Her voice softened even more. You have been drifting through space for 1,043 years. The world tilted. 1,000 years? His crew gone. His family, centuries dead. His world unreachable. Grief hollowed him from the inside. My ship, he managed. The horizon? My people. Fra exchanged a sorrowful glance with the other Valen. There was no ship left, Fra whispered. Only your pod. We found it among asteroid debris. Tam Man closed his eyes. The loss hit him harder than the cryosleep thawing. Everyone he had known, gone before he even woke. I'm sorry, Fra said quietly, but there is something more you must hear, and it will be harder. Tam Man opened his eyes, bracing himself. The Valen scientist stepped closer. Humanity didn't simply die out. They vanished. Completely. What do you mean vanished? After defeating the dragon swarm centuries ago, humans began disappearing everywhere. Ships, colonies, Earth itself, their people simply blinked out of existence. Fra added softly, no bodies, no battles, just empty worlds. We searched for generations. Tamman's mind rebelled. Why didn't it affect me? You were in cryostatus, Tila answered, frozen outside normal space-time. Perhaps that protected you. Or, she hesitated, or perhaps you slept because the galaxy would need a human again. Tam Man stared at them, breath shaking, grief and confusion warring inside him. He was the last echo of a vanished species. But as for his trembling voice whispered, "Please don't leave us. You're all that remains of the ones who saved us." Something old and familiar stirred inside him. Duty, purpose. He was a soldier. The last one. "Tell me everything," Tam Man said. "Start with what happened to the galaxy." The Valan brought Tam Man to his feet slowly, careful not to overwhelm him. Even standing felt foreign. His muscles trembled, half remembering how to exist after a millennium of silence. But his mind was awake now, sharp with questions and dread. Fra supported his arm gently. "There is much to show you. The galaxy is not the one you left behind." They guided him through a series of bright corridors until they reached a massive window overlooking space. The sight punched the breath from his lungs. A floating metropolis drifted before him. A colossal space station, shaped like a luminous spiral and surrounded by dozens of ships of every shape and color. Some sleek and blade-like, others bulky with glowing runes, a few completely transparent, drifting like crystal ghosts. "This is Sanctum Station," Thela said, "the center of the Allied territories. 53 species live and work here." Tam Man stared. "Allied? To what?" "To the peace humans built," Thela replied quietly. They led him deeper inside, and the moment he stepped into the main concourse, the world seemed to stop breathing. The corridor stretched endlessly, framed with towering arches and drifting banners in alien languages. Beings of every imaginable form moved through it. Creatures with wings of light, aquatic beings inside walking water spheres, chittering insectoids, metallic organisms with glowing joints. But the moment they saw him, everything stopped. A crystalline figure dimmed its glowing facets in reverence. A six-legged creature froze mid-stride, its antennae quivering. A child with too many eyes tugged on his parent's hand, pointing with awe. They stared at Tam Man, as if he were a resurrected myth. Fra spoke softly. "Most of them grew up hearing stories about your kind. To see a human alive, it's history made real." Tam Man swallowed hard. He didn't feel like history. He felt like a man 1,000 years late to his own life. They reached a broad plaza where a statue towered over the crowd. Tam Man's feet halted on their own. The monument depicted a human soldier, armor scorched, rifle in one hand, the other reaching out to help an injured Valan. The expression carved into stone was fierce, protective, unyielding. At the base, a plaque glowed softly. "For those who stood when others could not. For those who fought, so we might live. We remember." Tam Man turned away, unable to bear the weight in his chest. Fra placed a gentle hand on his arm. "We honor your people every day. Without humans, the galaxy would have fallen long ago." Thela nodded. "And now it may fall again." They guided him toward a vast spherical chamber, the council hall. Platforms floated in a perfect circle, each holding representatives from a different species. Every voice fell silent when he entered. The chamber glowed with soft light as an elder lumina, the crystalline species, floated forward. Its body pulsed with shimmering blue patterns, each shift conveying emotion. "Captain Lee Tam Man," it said, voice resonating like chimes struck in slow rhythm. "On behalf of all free peoples, we welcome you back to the galaxy your ancestors saved." A holographic projection flickered to life in the center, a sprawling map of stars, patches burning red. "This," the Lumina continued, "is our enemy, the Vaughn hierarchy." The map zoomed in, worlds conquered, fleets obliterated, cities burned. 50 years ago, they were a minor empire. Then they discovered ancient technology far beyond their understanding. In 2 generations, they became conquerors. In 3, nightmares. A tall Valan stepped forward, feathers like polished silver. Her stance radiated disciplined aggression. "I am Commander Nari," she announced. "For 20 years I've studied human battle doctrine. Your species fought in ways no others can replicate. Adaptable, unpredictable, relentless." Nari changed the display. "Battles, losses, overwhelmed defenses. We cannot think the way humans thought," she admitted, her voice cracking with suppressed frustration. "We lack that instinct, the willingness to fight after logic says you've already lost." Tam Man looked at her, at the council, at the dozens of species who watched him with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. They had kept humanity's history alive for 800 years. They had built museums, libraries, academies, all to preserve the teachings of a species no longer here. Except him. I need to understand what happened, Tam Man said. Everything. Every record you have. The council murmured as a luminous speaker pulsed in agreement. Then you must be taken to the Remembrance Vault, where the last messages of your people are stored. Nari bowed slightly. I will take him. Tam Man took a breath. Heavy, weighted, final. He was ready to know the truth, even if it broke him. Commander Nari guided Tam Man through the oldest corridors of Sanctum Station. Here, the lights were dimmer, the architecture simpler, a preserved reminder of the station's earliest days. The walls were lined with inscriptions in dozens of languages. Human quotes, human poetry, human strategy etched into alloy plates as if they were sacred scripture. We built this wing after your species disappeared. Nari explained. The galaxy feared losing the lessons humans left behind. So we created the Remembrance Vault to safeguard everything we knew. Tam Man paused at one engraving. A simple line from an old Terran general. Courage is endurance of the soul. His throat tightened. Words from a world now unreachable. When they reached the vault doors, Tam Man stopped. The entrance rose before him like a monument, dark metal engraved with thousands of names. Human names. Soldiers, scientists, civilians, people whose stories have become legends over 8 centuries. My people remember them? Tam Man asked softly. Not just remembered. Nari said, touching the door with reverence. We built our future on what they taught us. The door slid open with a deep, echoing hum. The interior was enormous. Rows of glowing data cores stretched into the distance. Artifacts floated in secure stasis fields. Broken helmets, old Earth metals, shattered weapons, fragments of starship hulls from battles long past. Holograms flickered intermittently, projecting scenes of ancient wars, treaties, and triumphs. This is your heritage, Nari said. Everything we could preserve. In the center sat a solitary terminal, the interface glowing softly. These are the last messages recorded by humans. Nari added, we have never altered them. Tam Man approached with trembling hands. It felt like approaching a graveyard, one where the dead still whispered. He activated the terminal. Files organized themselves by date. He scrolled through them. Military transmissions, final logs, desperate pleas for contact, voices fading across centuries. Then one file caught his eye. Lee Dongwu. His breath hitched. That's my family name, Tam Man whispered. You recognize it? Nari asked. He nodded. It could be a descendant, or someone from my lineage. With a shaking finger, he opened file. A man's face appeared on the screen. Older, weathered, dressed in the uniform of a high-ranking admiral. His eyes... Tam Man felt something inside crack. They were the same eyes he saw in the mirror. If you are watching this, the admiral began, then you are either human or someone who carries our memory. Tam Man leaned closer, barely breathing. I am Admiral Lee Dongwu, 6th-generation descendant of Captain Lee Tam Man of the UEF Horizon. Tam Man's knees nearly buckled. His descendant, his family had survived, lived, continued. We deployed a weapon against the dragon swarm. It worked, but it released a radiation unlike any previously encountered. Harmless other species, but catastrophic to humans. The Admiral swallowed hard before continuing. We are being pulled into a dimensional fold. Slowly, irreversibly. People vanish in moments. No traces. No remains. Just gone. The message flickered as the Admiral fought to keep composure. We tried everything. Counterfields. Barriers. Reversals. Nothing works. The fold draws only humans. We believe it is because our biology reacts violently with the radiation. Tam Man's hands curled into fists. We are alive, somewhere, but trapped between dimensions. We cannot come back. Slowly, tears gathered in the Admiral's eyes. If a human survived, if one escaped the fold because he was frozen in stasis, Know this, we did not abandon you, and we did not abandon the galaxy. The Admiral looked directly into the camera, as if speaking across centuries. You are our legacy now. Every hope, every sacrifice, every choice. His voice softened. Carry humanity forward, even if you must do it alone. The screen went dark. Tam Man sat motionless, tears streaming silently down his face. 1,000 years of history, grief, and pride crashed over him. Nari remained respectfully behind him, giving him space. They didn't vanish willingly, Tam Man whispered. They were taken, pulled away, but they tried to come back. And they trusted you, Nari said gently, even if they never knew you survived. Tam Man stood slowly, wiping his face. The weight settled onto his shoulders, not crushing, but anchoring. Then I can't fail them, he said. If I am the last human here, I'll make every one of them proud. Nari bowed her head, her voice steady. Then let me learn from you. Let all of us learn. Teach us what it means to think like a human. Tam Man exhaled, a breath filled with renewed purpose. Then let's begin. The training facility looked almost human. Metallic floors, modular walls, simulation panels. But underneath it all, Tam Man saw the subtle mismatches. Rooms too wide for humanoid bodies. Controls modified for claws or tentacles. Lighting adjusted for species that saw more spectrums than humans ever could. It wasn't built for him, but it had been adapted because of him. Tam Man stood at the center of the simulation hall as his new team gathered. They were the most unusual squad he had ever seen. Jiro, a chittering scout, moved with 6 jagged legs that clicked softly on the metal floor. His compound eyes shifted through colors as he scanned everything around him. Via a Lumina engineer floated just above the ground, her crystalline body pulsing with patterns of light, equations, calculations, thoughts made visible. Kale, a deep-born pilot, stood inside an upright containment suit filled with shimmering water. His tentacles moved with slow grace, each motion deliberate and precise. And beside Tam Man, watching intently, was Commander Nari, silver feathers shimmering like living metal. She stood with the posture of someone who had trained for decades but hungered to learn more. Tam Man looked at the 4 of them. Different worlds, different lives, different instincts. Yet all of them shared one thing. They needed something only humans once possessed. He began simply. You've been fighting the Vaughn the wrong way. Confusion flickered across their faces. Tam Man activated a hologram showing a recent battle. Allied ships lined up in formation, meeting the Vaughn head-on in open space. This is what you do, Tam Man said. Predictable, honorable, structured. Jiro's antennae twitched. That is how war is fought. No, Tam Man corrected. That is how you think war is fought. But humans learned long ago that structure is a cage. He changed the display, now showing old human battles, guerrilla tactics, asymmetric warfare. The Vaughn expect you to fight directly. They prepare for that. They want that. So you give them something else entirely. Nari stepped closer. Teach us. So he did. For weeks, Tam Man drilled them relentlessly. Not in strength or skill, they already had those, but in perspective. He taught them how humans treated battlefields like puzzles, not arenas. How unpredictability could be a weapon. How retreat could be a trap. How weakness could be bait. During one session, Tam Man paused and asked, "What do you do when you know you're losing?" Kale spoke first. "You withdraw. Preserve life." "That's logic," Tam Man replied. But humans didn't survive on logic alone. Jiro clicked irritably. Then on what? Stubbornness, Tam Man said bluntly. Willpower, the refusal to accept defeat even when it's carved into the stars. Nari studied him with sharp focus. But why fight when loss is certain? Tam Man looked at her. Because sometimes holding the line buys time for others. Because sometimes the enemy thinks you'll run, and that's when standing your ground becomes the unexpected move. Realization rippled across her face, feathers rising. That is what we lack, she admitted softly. We fight with precision. Humans fought with something deeper. Instinct, Tam Man said. But instinct learned through experience, desperation, and hope. The chance to test their training came sooner than expected. A distress signal echoed through the station. Curious, for a small Chittling colony was under attack. A Vaughn fleet of 12 warships was descending on it. The planet had no defenses strong enough to stop them. The Allied Council prepared for evacuation. Tam-Man stepped forward. No. Dozens of eyes turned to him. We don't abandon it. We hold it. A wave of disbelief swept through the council chamber. That is suicide, argued a deep-born representative. Only if we fight their battle, Tam-Man countered. We don't. We make them fight ours. The council hesitated, but Nari stepped forward. I will lead the defense. Under human strategy. That tipped the scale. Approval was granted. Nari, Jiro, Kale, and Vaya deployed to Curious for a head of the Vaughn. Civilians were evacuated into reinforced shelters. Then the preparations began. Mines hidden beneath foliage. Choke points created in abandoned street grids. False signals broadcast to confuse the Vaughn scanners. When the Vaughn landed, they didn't find soldiers. They found emptiness. Puzzlement turned to paranoia. Paranoia turned to mistakes. As night fell, the real fight began. Jiro darted through forests, striking and vanishing. Vaya used illusions to turn shadows into enemies. Kale disrupted Vaughn's supply lines. And Nari coordinated their moves with new, unsettling precision. Tam-Man monitored everything from the command center. And he smiled. They weren't fighting like Valen or Lumina anymore. They were fighting like humans. Night descended on Curious for like a shroud. The Vaughn soldiers, towering reptilian warriors bred for domination, marched through the deserted streets with unsettling confidence. Their commander, a massive brute named Krell, surveyed the silent settlement with a growl. Where are the defenders? He demanded. Silence answered him. Curious, for looked abandoned. No troops. No defenses. Only empty structures swallowed by alien foliage. To the Vaughn, it felt too easy. And that was exactly what Tam-Man wanted. The first strike came from the trees. A Vaughn scout vanished mid-patrol, yanked into dense vegetation by something too fast to see. Krell barked orders, but before reinforcement arrived, 3 more soldiers fell, silently, surgically. Shadows, one Vaughn hissed. We're fighting shadows. No shadows. Jiro, the Chittling scout, moved through the forest with predatory precision, his 6 legs whispering against the soil. Every strike was deliberate, every retreat seamless. He never stayed still long enough to be targeted. On the outskirts of the settlement, soft pale light flickered through the fog. The Vaughn froze as ghostly shapes moved between the buildings, warriors made of glowing mist, towering monsters with impossible forms. Energy beings, someone shouted. They fired wildly. The illusions dissolved into nothing. Vaya pulsed brighter, her crystalline body projecting holographic phantoms that danced just out of reach. Her species had always used light as communication. Now she weaponized it as human-like psychological warfare. Inside the water canals beneath the settlement, Kale moved with fluid grace. His deep-born physiology let him slip through tight spaces, rising only to sever power lines, sabotage Vaughn scanners, or drag isolated soldiers underwater for capture. Every species on Tamman's team had become part of a larger design, a war mosaic crafted from human instinct. Up on Sanctum Station, Tam-Man watched the live feeds. Nari's voice crackled through the comms. They're dividing their forces. Krell is splitting them into 4 groups to hunt us, just as you predicted. Tam-Man smiled grimly. Because they believe they control the battlefield. Now show them they don't. Nari relayed new orders, her tone firm and confident, the tone of a commander who finally understood unpredictability. The hunt became a trap. As Krell's forces spread thin, each squad entered carefully prepared killing grounds. Hidden mines detonated beneath armored feet. Energy nets snapped shut around entire platoons. Narrow streets collapsed into pits. This wasn't random chaos. It was a pattern woven by human tactics. By the 3rd night, frustration twisted Krell's features. These creatures are cowards, he snarled. They refuse honorable combat. Nari stepped from the shadows a moment later, her silver feathers catching the moonlight. Honor is irrelevant, she said. Only survival matters. Krell lunged at her, but before he reached striking distance, Jiro and Kale flanked him, forcing him to retreat. The Vaughn commander roared in fury as he stumbled into a field lined with energy charges. "What is this?" Krell snarled. "Your mistake," Nari replied. The charges detonated, forcing the Vaughn commander and his remaining troops into a narrow ravine, the same ravine Kale had flooded hours earlier. The water surged, the Vaughn panicked, and the trap closed. By dawn, Krell had no choice but to call for evacuation. His elite force of nearly 10,000 had been reduced by nearly half. The Vaughn retreated from Curious, for in humiliation. A world they expected to conquer in hours had cost them days, blood, and pride. When the battle ended, Tam Man met Nari's eyes across the holoscreen. "You did well," he said. "We did well," she corrected, "because of what you taught us." But curious, for it was more than a victory. It was a message. By the time news spread through the Allied territories, something shifted across the galaxy. Species who had been preparing surrender papers began preparing weapons. Worlds ready to kneel found their courage again. The whisper echoed everywhere. "The human fights with us." And on a warship far away, a scarred figure watched the reports with burning obsession. High Commander Gravik. He leaned forward, mandibles tightening. "A human," he growled. "After 8 centuries, one survived." His eyes narrowed to cold slits. "Find him. Bring him to me. Alive." Because Gravik remembered the ancient stories, the only defeat carved into Vaughn history, and now he wanted to erase it. Curious 4's victory spread to galaxy like a spark touching dry leaves. Dozens of oppressed worlds felt a tremor of hope for the first time in half a century. But hope was a fragile thing, and the Vaughn were moving faster than anyone predicted. Inside Sanctum Station's command center, Vaya placed a pulsing data core onto the analysis table. The stolen Vaughn device hummed with unstable energy, projecting streams of encrypted coordinates. "There's something buried inside these files," she said. "Project Echo. High priority. Highest secrecy." Tammon's expression hardened. Were they hiding? With a rapid cascade of light, the hologram unfolded. Worlds glowed across the star map. Shattered colonies, abandoned territories, ancient human systems long since turned to dust. "They're searching human space," Vaya explained. "Every old settlement, every deserted outpost." She paused. "And one location appears more than any other." The map zoomed in. Earth. Tam Man felt the breath leave his body. Nari stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "What would the Vaughn want on your homeworld?" Vaya's voice dimmed. "They believe humanity's dimensional technology still exists there." Tam Man froze. "The Fold device," he whispered. "The same type of device that had pulled humanity into another reality. The same anomaly that had spared him while swallowing his species whole. If the Vaughn unlocked it, they could rip open space, trap fleets, erase worlds. We destroy their research," Tam Man said, "before they decipher anything." Nari hesitated. "Earth is deep inside Vaughn territory. Their strongest fleets guard it." "Then we go quietly," Tam Man answered. "A small team, fast insertion, minimal noise." The Allied Council resisted at first, afraid that losing the last human could shatter morale. But in the end, the threat was too great to ignore. The mission was approved. They boarded the Whisper, an ancient human stealth corvette salvaged from a museum and restored by Vaya. It was sleek, matte black, built to disappear against the stars. Tam Man ran his hand along the cold hull. "This ship belonged to my era. She saved lives back then. She'll save them again." The team was the same 4 who fought at Curious. For Nari, Jiro, Vaya, Kale, each prepared in silence as the ship disengaged from Sanctum Station. When the Whisper slipped into warp space, Sanctum vanished behind them. Days became a quiet blur of tension. Twice they hid in asteroid shadows while Vaughn patrols scanned the void. Once they drifted silently between the wreckage of an old battle, engines cold, pretending to be debris. Finally, Earth appeared on the screen. Even after 1,000 years, it was beautiful. Blue oceans, swirling clouds, continents cracked but still alive. Yet the orbit was wrong. Silent. Empty. Derelict stations drifted like metal skeletons. And along the equator lay a sprawling Vaughn facility, swollen with power cables and pulsing machinery. "They've turned Earth into a research colony," Nari said, disgusted. Tam Man swallowed hard. "Let's finish this quickly." With skill only a deep-born could master, Kale guided the Whisper through Earth's magnetic field, slipping beneath sensors. They landed among the ruins of an overgrown city, once a beautiful metropolis, now reclaimed by time. Grass burst through crumbling asphalt. Vines wrapped skyscrapers like ancient monuments. Tamman's boots touched soil he hadn't walked since before cryosleep. His voice broke. "This used to be home." Nari stood beside him. "Home isn't buildings. It's people. And yours are still out there, somewhere beyond our reach." He nodded, pulling himself together. "Let's move." Jiro led the infiltration. His multifaceted eyes tracked Vaughn patrol patterns, guiding the team to collapsed structures and choked alleyways. Vaya hacked the facility's first layer of security, looping camera feeds. They slipped inside unnoticed. Deep underground, the air changed, humming with unstable energy. The dimensional fold generator stood at the chamber's center, a colossal crystalline sphere pulsed with shifting light, vibrating as if it existed in multiple realities at once. Human technology, Vaya whispered, awestruck, but modified. They're close to understanding it. "How close?" Tam Man asked. "Days. Maybe hours." They didn't have hours. Tam Man signaled the team. "Plant charges. Overload the system." They moved quickly, but before the last charge was set, alarms erupted. Unidentified presence detected. Nari cursed. "We've been exposed." Tam Man spun toward the exit, only to freeze as a massive silhouette stepped into the chamber. High Commander Gravik. Half his body was wrapped in cybernetic limbs. Parts of him still bore scorch marks from the Curious, for collapse. His eyes glowed with hatred and fascination. "At last," Gravik growled. "The human who defies fate." Tam Man held his ground. "And the monster who fears what he doesn't understand." Gravik laughed, a deep, rumbling sound that shook the chamber. "I fear nothing, but I am curious. Are you as formidable as your ancestors, or merely a relic wearing their shadow?" He raised one hand. "Let's find out." Behind Tam Man, Vaya whispered, "The overload is ready. 3 minutes." Tam Man tightened his grip on his weapon. "Then we just need to survive for 3."